This is ACC Nation, your source for ACC sports coverage. Connect with us at accnation.net. Listen to our podcast and streaming radio. Watch us on YouTube and follow us on your favorite social media outlet. Now, here's Will and Jim.
Welcome to ACC Nation. That is Will Ogenin. And I'm Jim Quist. Thanks for letting us join you. We're talking ACC football. We'll talk a little bit about other conferences here. We're going to start out with the SEC, where it appears, at least at the moment that we're talking and recording this, that Brian Kelly is out at LSU. Thank you, Lord. I don't like Brian Kelly. I couldn't figure out for the life of me why LSU was putting this dude around their necks. Maybe it seemed like a really grand idea at the time, but boy, talking about shooting yourself in the foot.
You know, Jim, I find it very hilarious. By the way, good to talk to you again as usual. I find it hilarious that he leaves Notre Dame to go to LSU because he wants to actually win a national championship. A couple of years later, Notre Dame's in the national championship game, and the following year, Brian Kelly is most likely going to be fired.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, isn't it? It's yeah. You know,
And
everything here is just it was just a bad move. I'm
yeah,
sorry. It was just a bad move.
he's owed $54 million, but
Cheers to you there, dude. He's 64 years old.
yeah,
$54 million, depending on how you get that package. Hell, you know what I would be doing with that package?
not
Oh,
working another day in my life.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think if I remember reading correctly, I thought there was paid in installments too for like the next 6 years,
Sounds
something
like a
like
good
that.
plan.
I have to go back and reread the contract again or what I saw about the buyouts, but I thought it was in some sort of installments. But I could be wrong. I thought I might have read it wrong, but
Yeah. You know, or you
it
could be like Jimbo Fisher and take a big payout and sit and give your opinion about
yeah
ACC football.
yeah. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if I want. I mean, Brian Kelly's always had
Come
some
on, man.
questionable decision making. See
Bring him on and
the
put
the
him.
kid on the scissor lift. See the Hurricane game against NC State. Um,
Uh,
trying to
try
speak
to.
like the
Yeah,
Cajun in his
Braxton, you
introductory
got.
press conference.
Oh,
The
tell me
the dancing with the recruit who ultimately went to Alabama.
yeah, on and on and on and on and on. Look, LSU in and of itself is a storied program, and I they're the SEC. I don't want to see anybody in the SEC succeed at all, but I do have I have feelings for you guys. I mean, I just thought, I'd have kept old Ed. You know, he brought a little bit of that Bayou flavor into the program. I mean, he wasn't overly successful with some stuff, but and to be frank, to be honest here about this, I was just looking. He's got a 34-14 record with 4 seasons, 71% winning record, and LSU. You got to tell me here that this isn't the reason. LSU has lost 3 of the last 4 SEC games. Now, if you've got that type of record and 71% winning record at LSU, it's not because you've lost 3 of the 4 last. It's because you're an utter, complete whole. Okay?
Oh, I was
And
thinking we were on the same page with that, Jim, and
yeah,
we
I mean,
most certainly were.
he has aggravated the hell out of somebody or maybe a lot of people. This crap that I saw, the video I saw of him yelling at his assistants and players on the sideline of that Texas A&M game, I'm like going, dude, good thing it wasn't me. I'd have punched your lights out. You know, nobody
Kids are
puts up with that crap. I don't
kid
care about the
yeah.
salary. I
Kid
take you
showed
down, old
amazing
man.
restraint doing that, man. I wouldn't have blamed him if he would have socked him.
The crowd would have erupted. They would have stood and went, ah, oh,
They would have, yeah,
Savior
just out
has
in
come.
chorus. Hallelujah,
Yes.
hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
And it would have only taken one punch. How about that?
Yep.
Boom, thunk. And then you can go feed him to the Gators. Anyway, okay. Enough of Brian Kelly. Holy smokes. I swear if he shows up anywhere on any ACC network stuff, that's it. I'm not watching ACC network ever again. Ever again. I mean, it rubbed me a little wrong with Jimbo, just a little
Yeah.
bit, but I don't have a dog in that hunt. But if I was a
Mhm.
Florida State fan, I definitely would have been like, what? Okay.
Mhm.
All right, moving on. Hey, isn't it weird how since the beginning of this season, there have been so many AP top 25 teams getting bumped off and dropping out of the rankings from week to week to week? Is there something I'm missing here, Will?
Just a lot of, I think, well, aside from the fact that more and more now these preseason polls are worthless, but what are they good for? Clicks.
What are they good for?
But
Absolutely
I like
nothing.
nobody really could have
Say
predicted LSU with arguably one of the top quarterbacks in the 2026 draft just falling out of the poll. Penn State falling out and firing their coach.
Texas.
Texas struggling to beat a mediocre Mississippi State team, barely staying in the top 25.
It
Who
shouldn't
else
be
am
in
I
there at
miss?
all.
Oh, yeah. Who and South? I have to. It's weird. It's just I think to some extent this is what the transfer portal era has brought. It's brought more parity, at least.
Yep.
Like Ohio State is still the best team in the country, and they didn't really need to do a lot of portal work to do that. Um, they obviously Julian Sane has done a really good job there. He's still a long ways from a finished product, but when you have the receivers he can throw to,
Hmm.
yeah, you don't really need to be, you really don't need to do a lot. Plus, their defense is, is still really good too. They're the most complete team in college football right now, and it feels like they really haven't fully flexed their muscles.
All right. So, you won't be able to see that,
Hmm.
I don't think. No,
Not really, but I'll just pull up.
it's from Thamel. LSU just called a team meeting for tonight per ESPN
Oh.
sources. So I would say that it's a definite, and that who knows, they're just going to announce who's taking the reins, who's
Hmm.
staying, who's going, what to expect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and how it all impacts the players. So that seems like
Yeah.
you know
To quote legendary Chicago White Sox announcer Hawk Harrelson,
yeah.
he gone.
There you go. Yeah, I thought you were going to pull up Harry Carey there for a minute.
Hello, folks. Harry Cowery here telling you that Brian Kelly's gonna be fired.
I like the SNL version that will.
The Will Ferrell one.
It's especially when he does the one with Jeff Goldblum.
Oh God.
That's, anyway, we're way off track here. Way off track. Anyway, that's what's going on. Let's see. What else is smoking here? Let's talk about football. Let's talk about football in the ACC because man, there was some crazy games again, it hasn't ceased. It usually goes a couple of weeks, then it takes a break, and then there's one in the middle of the season that's just bonkers, and everybody goes, "Ooh, it's the ACC again." Well, this has just been this one continuous crazy sort of stuff going on with ACC football. And I'm telling you, folks, I'm all here for it because it's just been absolutely fun to watch. Um, Will may not think that on one of these games, but I'm telling you, man, watching some of these games, especially these overtime games, has just been, um, I don't know, it's some enchanted evening. I hear the song playing in. Um, let's go to the Friday game. Uh,
Yeah.
Virginia Tech. Hello there, guys. Boy, the Hokies seem to be waking up here a little bit. 42 to 34 took two overtimes to knock off Cal, and it wasn't a bad game. It
Hmm.
was actually kind of fun to watch. I mean, there were some struggles and some boo boos here and there, stuff that shouldn't have happened, but you know what? It does. It's college football.
Hmm.
42-34. What are your thoughts on this double overtime extravaganza?
I think one of the things that stood out for me, aside from the two teams, is the porous officiating. And it's not there were and this carries into another game we're going to talk about in a little
Yeah.
bit. Um, what are you supposed to do when you get near the quarterback? Two-hand touch?
Um, take your pillow out of your
Yeah.
shirt and
Yeah.
put it between you and the player.
Hmm. I I don't even know what roughing the passer is supposed to be now, but that was a there was I mean it didn't matter in the end because Tech won, but God, they got hosed by a really bad roughing the passer call. But what I will say, to actually get into the game, it looks like Virginia Tech may have found a little something in terms of what they should be doing offensively.
Yeah.
The Hokies ran 76 plays in this game and ran the ball 58 times for 357 yards. Marcellus Hawkins and Kyra Jones both carried the ball 21 times. Hawkins had 167 yards, Jones 137. Hey, do it until
Work.
they stop it, and they
That's right.
clearly could not stop it. I mean, Jared Sacapelli had 285 yards and a touchdown, but the receivers kind of betrayed him again. He had a couple nice passes in there that were just flat out
Yeah.
drops.
Oh, no
It's
excuses for that, too.
Yeah. But again, when we talked about this, I last week I just had no real feel. I think I took Cal on the road, but I also was not very confident in that pick. And the fact it was very the very will it was a Will Waggle type of game. And yet the fact that the Hokies won this game does not surprise me. Good for Tech because they needed some sort of momentum to carry them forward. And if this is going to be their MO, I don't know if it will be because I know Cal doesn't have a very good run defense, but if this is their MO, then they're going to be a lot better here in the second half of the season.
Yeah. And that's the neat thing about the conference is that I really believe that we're looking at a tale of two seasons. Um, the front end has taken a lot longer than normal to sort of figure out who's who and what type of players you got. I think the second is going to be it's going to be wild. In fact, I'm a little concerned about how this is all going to play out with who ends up in the ACC championship game and gets an invite to the college football playoffs. So we'll see how that plays. Let's get into Saturday's games. Um,
Mhm.
Georgia Tech got off to a little bit of a slow start. Finally got their pace. I think they have realized they've been out of sync, and they found it against Syracuse, but it took them a little while. The final there, 41 to 16, Georgia Tech over Syracuse.
Yeah, just got the notification that the team meeting is for 8 o'clock Central Time for Brian Kelly. So I think if we needed any further proof that he's gone, I think we
Yeah,
got it there.
yeah,
Now on to this game. Um, it was about time Georgia Tech finally blew somebody out.
yeah.
Took them a while. I mean, yeah, I say it took them a little while, but by the second quarter, boom, this one was a pretty big blow. It's not like Syracuse had a ton of turnovers like last week. This was probably the most impressive offensive output of the season for the Yellow Jackets. 543 total yards in this game. Haynes King had 304 yards passing, 91 yards rushing, five total touchdowns. Georgia Tech ran for 239 yards in this game, averaging over 6 yards per carry. And I find it funny when I pull up social media this morning and then I start seeing people talking about Haynes King in the Heisman race. Maybe you should go follow ACC Nation Net on TikTok because I posted this exact thing 3 weeks ago,
Yeah,
folks.
it's been a while. We've been talking about that for a while.
Early October.
Yeah, you know.
Welcome to the party. Better late than never, folks.
All right, confirmation now. Brian Kelly was informed of the intention to dismiss him earlier today. So the rest of it is just them working out all the you know details.
Yep.
Anyway, so now that we have that off our plate, congratulations. You maybe move on to something bigger and better. All right, and I'm not talking about Kelly. Wake Forest and SMU. Man, we've been talking about Wake Forest being something a little bit more than maybe what we've been assuming. And again, we come back to this tale of two seasons. Wake Forest has given people a hard time. It gave Georgia Tech a hard time. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of people could argue they probably should have won that game. Um, you know, it's how the ball bounces sometimes. But here we have last year's championship, one of the participants in the championship game, and going on to the CFP. SMU, who has, without a doubt, had some bumpy, aspects of their season so far this season. I think they've lost two games that they should not have lost, but this was the first ACC conference game that they have lost. Wake Forest 13, SMU 12. That was a hairy game to watch.
hmm Last thing on Brian Kelly, I'm just gonna since we were on the TikTok thing, Will's World MN on TikTok. I'll be posting thoughts on Brian Kelly after this, after we record here. But as far as this game, God, it's set back off. It's like 60 years. It was so bad.
Uh,
Wake outgained SMU 301 to 246. Why did this game set back offense 60 years? They were a combined eight. Yes, eight turnovers. Wake had five, SMU three of them. The game ended on a Connor Culver 50-yard field goal on the final play of the game that he cleared by just about that much, folks. It, they say football's a game of inches, and this is not the only game in the ACC where it was literally decided by inches. First conference loss for SMU. One thing we don't talk about with Wake Forest, obviously they're 5-2.
mhm.
They take on Florida State with a real possibility to win. They've got Delaware, which they'll be favored in. So we're definitely going to be talking about
Well,
Wake Forest being a bowl team this year.
mhm.
Do you know who the number one pass defense is in the ACC in terms of yards per game?
You're going
Wake
to tell me.
Forest.
Yep.
They have not allowed their season high in passing yards allowed is 248. That was in the Georgia Tech game that they quote unquote lost. So they have a really strong pass defense and credit to the defense and their coordinator who his name is not on my brain at the moment, but their offense is struggling a little bit. I mean, Demond Claiborne keeps getting banged up. He's struggling, but they're still getting some offensive output. They have a really nice freshman receiver, Chris Barnes, who I've talked about on this pod. Hopefully Wade can keep him because he's probably going to be sought after with his kind of skill set. And yeah, again, very impressive by Wade because nobody thought they would be winning 5 games this year.
Pretty pretty good start for Coach Dickert there, and maybe not too surprising either, considering Jake Dickert's background and his abilities, and to pick up and run with something here
He's
that
just a
didn't look
damn
like
good
he had
coach.
much to work with, but he's making something happen, and
Yeah, he's just a damn good coach. And
yeah,
when you think about who's done the best coaching job in the ACC this season, if you really think about it, Dickert might very well be at the top. I think he's done a better pure coaching job than Tony Elliott. I think he's done a better pure coaching job than Mario. Um, I think he's done a better, just a pure coaching job,
yeah.
better than Brent Key. I just, he's just a really, really good coach, and I, I'll be perfectly blunt. If he keeps this up, I just wonder how long Wake's going to be able to keep him. I hate to say that, but
Yeah,
that's the reality of college sports right now.
that is indeed. It would be nice to see him stick around for several years and build something special there, like Dave Clawson did. But everybody's career. Just saying. All right, talking about inches and overtime. Virginia 17, North Carolina 16. Man, what a wacky game that ended up being. And I mean, there were there was a turnover in here that happened once before by the same team that resulted, I think, in a loss there too. And I'm just going, this all falls on coaching, man. This is granted, players ought to know better, but man, you've got coaching has to instill some discipline in people and make them understand how important certain aspects of the game can be, and especially when it comes down to winning and losing. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
if you didn't know what Jim's talking about on North Carolina's first possession of the game, they were about to score again, just in almost. This one was, if I remember correctly, it was a run play.
yeah.
If I and he fumbled as he was no, it was a pass play. It was a pass because they were going a guy. I
Rollout.
it
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
he caught it and he was about to stretch the football out over the pylon, and then it got knocked out as he was about to get just shy of the pylon, and it went through the end zone for a touchback.
Yep. And there's
That,
this
hey,
little,
I guess that ultimately made a difference in the game, though.
it
If you
did.
think about it,
You
because
know.
Carolina would have probably won in regulation. This is the
Yeah.
third week in a row, though, that Virginia's offense has struggled. I think the I looked at Bill Connolly's like game, his win percentage after this morning, and I think it was like 48%, or like Virginia would have won that game like 48% of the time. And I think it was like the third week in a row that's happened where they've been really, really low. And Virginia just somehow keeps getting away with this. Only 259 yards of offense in this game. And I think some of it is I think the play calling is completely regressed. Des
Yes.
Kitchens has completely regressed play calling over the last 3, 4 weeks.
Yes.
I think Chandler Morris, I think he's really hurt too. That because
Yeah.
they have not done a lot of like design runs or more with him in the outside the pocket these last few weeks, and I know his shoulder is hurt. I think he hurt it or I think he hurt it in the first game of the season, actually. I'd have to go back into to some messages and whatnot, but
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it was the first game of the season he hurt himself, and I think that's just been a problem all season, and I think it's just kind of magnified the last 3, 4 weeks, and
You
I think
can't keep.
that's really had an effect on Virginia's offense too. Now the defense, I don't think has been great either. The fact that I mean, the fact that Carolina only scored 10 points in regulation that's about what they've been doing lately. They actually they had like 350 something yards of offense, which for Carolina, that's a lot.
It's huge.
Um, but again, going back to Virginia a minute, they came into this game allowing 5 sacks all season.
Mm.
This week they gave up 6 to UNC. And maybe some of this is Carolina's defense is figuring itself out a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe it's just Virginia's offensive line has been bad. I know they've been banged up again. They got their center Brady Wilson back, but I think another lineman got hurt in this game. I will give Carolina credit though on the in overtime going for 2 in the win because that's what you should do in the current format. And just like the end of SMU Wake is close. He was like inches short of
Literally.
reaching the pylon, the goal line to ultimately win it for UNC, but Virginia again survives. They're 7-1 for the first time since 2004. Um, Cardiac Cavs, man, they just keep doing it.
They can't continue to do that. I mean,
They're
it's
not going to get away with it. I think the regression is coming.
yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with you. One of the things that I kept watching that game and the play calling, the offensive play calling for Virginia, I, I really just started going, what are you doing? What what are you doing? I mean, you're not adjusting. You're doing some of the same stuff over and over and over again, even though you know it's not working, or that that side is banged up, or your quarterback is banged up, and you're still doing that. It's like I look. Um, Tony Elliott needs to smack you upside the head, Des. I mean, seriously, and just shake something loose up there because you're not thinking. You're just not thinking. That game was a mess. You're not calling stuff right, and I haven't been watching as closely as Will from the standpoint of you made the comment, Will, that this has been going on for a while. Um, if it has been going on for a while and it's been a regression, then somebody needs to be taken out to the woodshed. Dude, you cannot be an offensive coordinator and have a team that's sitting at number 15 in the nation and winning by the hair of literally your chinny chin chin every week. This is not going to continue. And you're going to lose a game and it's going to just blow you guys out of the top 25. Um, and people are going to be furious. Uh, the old saying that it all runs downhill. Well, it will run downhill, and man, you're going to be the first one it plops on. So straighten it out, get it going. You know, horrible stuff.
So just before we move on to the next game, let me just circle back on what we were talking about with this offense.
Yeah,
The first five games, Virginia had no worse than 440 yards and set a school record with 700 against William and Mary in the third game of the season.
right.
But in the last 3 games, 237 yards against Louisville, 301 against Washington State, and 259 against North Carolina. Like I said, the defense has been, they bailed them out by the defensive 2 defensive touchdowns in the Louisville game. They had the safety to beat Washington State, and then needed a stop just 6 inches shy, not even 6 inches shy at the goal line to beat North Carolina, and they've had a very bend but don't break kind of defense this year, and like I said, at some point it's all going to come to a head, and I'm not going to tell you when, but I think it's going to happen very, very soon.
Yeah, House of Cards is coming soon. Um, when you look at the top 25, you got Georgia Tech at 8, Miami at 10, Virginia 15, Louisville at 16, and Pitt is receiving some votes or a vote to have them outside the top 25. Here's the thing that I found interesting: Georgia Tech dropped one in the poll this week after a significant win. Miami dropped one after a significant win. Virginia went up one after barely winning against an unranked and horrible team. And Louisville went up three. And let's be realistic here. They did struggle against Boston College. I mean, there was no doubt
Hmm.
about that. So, you guys voting here are just, just it continues to baffle me. Um, where, where you're coming from. I don't know. Anyway, let's go to this next game. Pitt, NC State. Let me just say something here up front. There is a certain feel to college football when you see teams executing uh, and doing fairly well and really making a difference on both sides, offense, defense. There's a feel. I got that feel from watching this game. I felt like I was really watching a college football game. And so I want to compliment both these teams because they have so much talent, so much capability. NC State's is unfortunately being squandered a bit. It appears as if Pitt is hitting the stride, the tale of two seasons at the right time. Um, 53-34, the final there. Pitt over NC State. This is probably, other than it's probably a homer that gave Pitt that one vote. I think Pitt should have received more votes. I think Pitt is worthy of being at least 30ish in that range of rankings.
We've promoted TikTok a couple of times already, and I put one on the ACC Nation at TikTok last night on Saturday night talking about Pitt's viability in the as an ACC championship game contender because of the emergence of Mason Heinschel. My first my first line in my notes in this game is defense? What defense? 87 total points and 974 total yards. Pitt outgained NC State in this game 529 to 445. I mentioned Heischel, 423 yards and three touchdowns. Why was I going to say 423 pounds for some reason? I don't know.
Big boy.
Sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
But anyways, CJ Bailey, three touchdowns in the loss. And this is where when you talk about Dave Doran and potentially this being his last year at NC State, and NC State is 14th in the ACC out of 17 teams in total defense. This team has been consistently a good defense. A lot over his tenure in the last 2 years, it's really fallen off.
Yeah.
Missing Peyton Wilson, anybody? Pitt now bowl eligible with this one too, so they're going bowling again, and I think we have to, and who knows? Pitt has a really tough final three games of their schedule. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami. I don't know. They're going to have to really rely on the running game more. And they got to, I mean, Des Reed is constantly banged up, and I don't know how much of a factor he's going to be. I know he got hurt in yesterday's game. I do not know if he returned or if not or not, but this has been a problem off and on all season. And I think that if Pitt is going to be a contender, they need some help for Heinzel should he struggle through the air because these defenses are there's going to be a lot better defenses coming down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they have the capability of giving those three teams that you just mentioned a run for their money, and maybe even upsetting, you know, one or two of them. We'll see. It doesn't seem as if anybody's immune to being tossed aside this season. So, it's a very good possibility that you could look at, let's say, Pitt against Notre Dame. Notre Dame hasn't done a whole lot to impress me so far this season, and I don't, I, you know, if Pitt's hitting it's like they got their second win, man. So maybe it's there. Maybe, we saw what happened when Stanford opened up with a touchdown against Miami, and Miami was like caught flat-footed. And so a team that has the capability of running up some points on Miami very early, which we have seen, could come away with a win. I mean, just going, what ifs here. So, you know, their future is in their hands. They've got to do something there to make all this come to fruition. So, um,
I'm just going to interrupt 1 second. I just want to
yeah.
bring this up since we've been talking about Brian Kelly and all the fire coaches. Hit this stat here, courtesy of Brandon Marcello.
Mhm.
We're up to $167.9 million in total buyout money committed to fired FBS coaches in this carousel, and it's not even November yet.
We got a problem, folks. We're addicted to green. Well, and it's an issue. It is an issue. We talked, I think, more offline than online about this issue with Jason Carmelo when we were doing the college basketball preview about how much money is influencing things and how much it's impacting and how it's going to have a detrimental effect in the long run. And the one thing that really stuck in my head, um, I can't remember the name of the team now, but they only have $1.5 million in their NIL. You remember that?
Seton Hall.
Seton Hall, thank you. I was going St. John's for some reason. I know that couldn't have been right. So
Started with an S.
close, no cigar. Um, so they only have 1.5 mil in their NIL fund, and then you look at somebody that a player at NC State who's making four a year. So at some point, you get these teams that are going to be they're they're not going to be there anymore, and that's the fun of college basketball. Well, the fun of college football is going to be impacted in a different way, and I think it already is, and it's just something that we've got to keep an eye on. We're seeing the parity. That's a good thing. I'm glad to see it. Across the board, all of these teams and all these different conferences. It's like anybody, any given Saturday, Friday, Thursday, whenever the hell they're playing.
Yep, you
Um,
see, and even see like a team like Vanderbilt who's in the top 10 for and doing having their most success since like World War II, basically.
yeah, it's right there. It's that NIL stuff. Next game up was Miami over Stanford. Talked about just briefly Stanford scoring that seven that they've got on the scoreboard first, which I think Miami was sitting there kind of going, wait a minute, what happened? But they woke up, and the team that we thought they were and should be on paper and everything else, maybe they're realizing that, hey, nothing's going to be handed to us. 42-7 final, Miami over Stanford.
Yeah, you talked about it. This game was Stanford got out first, scored, and Miami tied it up with like in the last 2 minutes of the first half. It was 7-7 at halftime. Then Miami realized who they were and proceeded to outscore them 35 to nothing in the second half and outgained them 228 to 47. Congratulations to any of you who are listening to this because you had eight more yards rushing than Stanford did in the second half. And they had 144 total yards for this game. Mark Fletcher, three touchdown runs, which you would expect from him in a Miami game. Miami bowl eligible as we would all expect, but yeah. This game was interesting for a half, and then again, like I said, Miami
Yeah,
remembered who they were.
exactly. From the standpoint of remembering who they are, I think that when Miami lost that game to Louisville, that everybody just sort of put them in the trash bin and said, we'll shuffle them off to the side and forget about them. We don't have to worry about them any longer. No, season two is here, and Miami stands just pretty much as good a chance as anybody in this top tier of teams of ending up in the ACC championship. And a lot of people are saying that the two teams that they expect to be in the CFP, Georgia Tech and Miami. So that tells you something.
It tells you, yeah, it's the resume, really. I
Yeah,
mean, the win over Notre Dame, the win over
huge.
South Florida, who very well could be the G5 representative in the playoff.
Yep,
Um, that still hasn't been decided, but that looks like a really impressive win because they both beat Florida too. So,
yep.
but yeah, it's the non-conference and early season work for Miami that's put them in this position.
Yeah, every team has, well, not all the time, but most teams, most of the time, let's say 90 to 95% of teams basically have this issue where they just fall flat on their face in one game, or they just don't perform. And Miami had that game against Louisville. Louisville is a good team. Nobody should think otherwise. There was nothing magical about this is a surprise that came out of nowhere. We didn't expect that. I mean, if you were thinking that, dude, uh, Louisville's a damn good team. Miami's a damn good team. And it just so happened it was one of those nights. And if you're not ready, if you're not pumped up, if you don't have the juice going, man, you have to defend. The second that you get ranked and that people say you're the team, you have that target, and everybody's coming after you, and they're going to study video hour after hour after hour looking for your weaknesses, and they're going to exploit the hell out of you. Now, I'll repeat something that I said about Miami before. Their coach, and I think he did this with this particular game, their coach needs to get more of a killer attitude. He, in the past, has, when the team has gotten into the third quarter, taken the foot off the gas. You cannot do that. That is, look, everybody wants to be a gentleman and kind to their fellow coach and not rub their nose in it. But the reality is that in today's world, if you want to be ranked, if you want to be in the CFP, you need to just have a killer attitude about scoring points. Get as many up on that board as you can. Okay. And then you can do like Pat Narduzzi did. You can bring Eli Holstein in to quarterback in the last minute of the game.
Yep.
So, Louisville, speaking of Louisville, um, Boston College did not want to go away. And this is the Boston College that you and I have come to know. We talked about this the last time around. It's like, where did they go? What happened to Boston College, man? And they showed up for this game. They didn't win it, but they showed up. Louisville 38, Boston College 24. It was a nice grind them out sort of football game.
Yeah, credit to Boston College because they were actually competitive in this game. Their 24 points is the most they've scored in the last four games. That was the Cal game where they almost won at home, but ended up taking the loss. Louisville ran for 317 yards in this game. Isaac Brown had 205 yards, and 135 of them came on two carries.
Dude's a hell of a running back.
God, I think he had a 73-yard run. It got him down in, I think, to the one, and then he had a 62-yard touchdown run. Louisville ended up with 504 total yards in this game. They're now bowl eligible, and now that BC is 1-7, they will not be going to a bowl this year. So the future is now for the Eagles.
Right. All right. Let's get into next week and say who we think is going to be pulling out a rabbit out of the hat here. Um, on Friday, Halloween night, it's maybe this is appropriate. North Carolina at Syracuse. So, which one of these teams is going to be the Charlie Brown with the character who, when they go out trick or treating, they have a bag and they look at it and they go, "I got a
I
rob."
got a rock. God, this is like the most one of the most sicko ACC games we're gonna have this season. It's probably I would probably rank it number two behind North Carolina's opponent next week, Stanford.
Hmm.
Um, this game being at the JMA Wireless Dome, this is actually a lot more like I don't think it's as given that Syracuse is going to win this game, quite frankly. I'm just going off of what UNC's done the last 2 weeks, the fact that they've been competitive in one-score games. Would it surprise me if Carolina actually won this game? No, mostly because I just don't trust Syracuse now that they've been without Steve Angeli for the better part of the season, and
They just
I'll
don't come
I'll
back.
take Syracuse, but again, I'm not super confident in it because I think Carolina can, like I say, I think they can go up there and win this game. By the way, there are tickets on the secondary market for as low as $6 for this game.
Okay. Um, I'm a Will Waggle on this one. I
Hmm.
don't even know who to. I think Syracuse still has some fire in their guts. It's a home game. North Carolina did show us something against Virginia. It's almost like stuff is starting to click for them. Um, only thing that worries me about Syracuse is they just, they don't have Angeli, period. And after that, it's a struggle, which is a shame. That God, man, um, what a quarterback! I would love to be seeing him play that entire season.
This game is going to be, or this season for Syracuse now is going to be ultimately defined about what if,
Yeah,
because when he went out, Angeli had a 60, almost 63% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns and two interceptions. Ricky Collins, 54.5% completion, six touchdowns, eight interceptions. So,
learning on the job, man.
yeah.
Tough stuff. All right, on Saturday we got a full slate here. Miami is at SMU.
I think this is going to be an interesting game. I think SMU is going to rebound after the poor performance of last week, but I still think Miami's going to go in there and win, but I think it's going to be a pretty close game.
I would agree with that. I'm saying that Miami's going to win this one, but it's going to be it'll be a struggle because I don't think Rhett Lashley is somebody to trifle with. I mean, he's got a good team. They're not as good as last year, but they're good. They have the capability of winning games, and I think the I still don't know quite to think about their performance against Wake Forest, other than the fact that I think Wake Forest is a hell of a lot better than most people think.
Mhm.
All right, next up, Duke at Clemson. Boy, okie dokie.
This is I think this definitely qualifies as a Will Waggle kind of game.
Yeah. Who would ever
I
thought that?
like you could argue it in this like you could have argued this in the preseason that it was a Waggle kind of game, but not in the way it is now.
Yeah.
Like like Clemson is who would have thought at this point of the season Clemson would be 3-4? Like nobody would have thought that. Like you could have excused the loss to LSU at the time, I mean, and the struggling with Troy, losing to Syracuse, even though Angeli missed most of that game, they still could not get anything going. And
Hmm.
I don't really want to Will Waggle, but I'm just gonna go. I'll take Clemson at home, and I'm again not very confident about it at all.
I would go Will Waggle here, but since you didn't, and you were more of a man than me, um, I'm gonna go Duke. Um, but
Fair.
I think it's gonna be a close game because it is at home, and that's a tough place to play. But I also think Duke has got a lot more to show than people realize, and I think I think they've been severely underrated a good portion of the season. I think, and it's pretty obvious, Clemson's been overrated. So let's
No,
see how it
obviously.
plays out.
And another thing is Mintz has done a really good job. He's been as advertised for Duke. Problem is they need to stop shooting themselves in the foot.
Oh God,
Maybe
trouble.
at this point, because they shot all 10 toes off, that they can't do that anymore, but
Yeah. I'm stumped. No pun intended. Um, Louisville at Virginia Tech.
Louisville, but again, I think I'm kind of curious to see if what Virginia Tech did against Cal this week is going to be what they do going forward. Do they basically almost become an option team? Do they just run the football 70% of the time or whatever the ratio was against Cal? But I think Louisville's defense is too good, quite frankly, to really do a lot on. So I'm going to take Louisville to go in there and get the win.
Trap game.
It's a trap.
um, wow.
Yeah,
I
like it's like what are the last images we have of these teams? Louisville struggling with Boston College, Virginia Tech running up, down, all around against Cal.
yeah. Louisville is the better team. There's no doubt about that. Virginia Tech, they, man, they are finding themselves second season, and um, I think they're going to give Louisville a real hard time here. This could very well be the trap game for Louisville. So watch out, guys. I'm going to take Louisville in this game. Next up, Pitt at Stanford.
Yeah, Pitt.
Yeah, Pitt.
No, don't need to say a lot. Pitt's gonna win.
Yeah. Make sure you get your rest. All right.
Mhm.
Notre Dame at Boston College.
Notre Dame.
Yeah. Um, Boston College give them a little bit of a run for their money, but it's Notre Dame. Virginia at Cal. Trap game.
I think this is the day, this is the game that Virginia finally loses. I I've been saying this for a while though, that going to Cal, I think was going to be the game at Cal would be the one where they lost. Now, I also expected it to be a 10:30 Eastern start, but I think there's some clause in there where because of bye weeks and whatnot, Virginia can't play the late game, but so they have it as 3:45 Eastern.
Yeah.
So I still think I still think Cal pulls off the upset in that game.
Very possible. Um, I think Kitchens figures his stuff out here and gets Virginia back on track. I'm hoping Chandler is healthy, and I just think this is going to be I think it's going to be a solid game between the two. Cal is a lot better than people give him credit for. Um, Virginia has sort of been playing knucklehead ball. If they play too much knucklehead in this, Cal will take advantage of them and win. But I'm going to go with Virginia. All right, Wake Forest at Florida State. Oh boy, here we go.
This is another one of those potential Will Waggle type of games. Quite frankly, I mean, wouldn't you agree, Jeff?
I'm there. Yeah.
I just, I think the line, as I saw the line come out, and Florida State was like an 8.5 point favorite, and I don't know what Florida State has done the past, basically since the Virginia game that says they should be in a, is it because they're Florida State and the
Yes.
other team is Wake Forest? Like,
Yes.
did we not see Wake Forest just beat SMU last week?
Yep.
Really, this game comes down to whether or not Wake's D line can stop Florida State's running attack with Castellanos, Sawchuk, etc., and whatever they do with Makai Danzy.
Tough
I,
pick.
I I honestly don't know. Like, I'm sure a lot of people who are like, "Oh, Florida State should roll," but again, I don't see it. I might just go ahead and take Florida State, but this is going to be down to the final minute type of game. I don't like I could absolutely see Wake going in there and winning 100%, but I just I don't know. I This is another coin flip will waggle type game to me.
I'm going with Wake Forest. I just I think that that second season thing, man. I think they're getting ready to show us that there's more to Wake Forest than meets the eye, and that what we assumed out of the first part of the season is who and what they are. I think you're getting ready to see this team has the capability, and the fact that they beat SMU certainly has to play into it here. I just think Florida State is limping along, and they're ripe for the picking. And Wake Forest, I think, is fired up. I think they're ready to go, and they want to. A win here would be big feather in their cap. So, all right, Georgia Tech and NC State. That's our final game of the night. That should be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just like kind of looking at this while you're talking, looking at NC State's rush defense.
Mhm.
They gave up 257 yards on the ground to Virginia, only 59 to Wake, 149 to Duke, 229 to Virginia Tech, 143 to Notre Dame, and 106 to Pitt. So I mean, it's the Virginia schools, Duke, and then, yeah, I just don't know if I trust State's defense to stop Haynes King and crew. Honestly, I could kind of see this being a little bit of a mini shootout. Because I think Bailey can do things against this Georgia Tech secondary. I just think the Yellow Jackets are just too good. I think they're gonna win. It's gonna be like a 45-31-ish type game,
This is a
and
trap
Georgia
game.
Tech wins.
This is a trap game for Georgia Tech, and they better watch themselves because you just pointed something out. NC State has the capability of slowing down opponents. And when you have the likes of CJ Bailey, Hollywood Smothers, and cast and crew of millions who are capable of moving the ball down the field and putting points up on the board, Georgia Tech has struggled a little bit with teams like this season. This is a dangerous place, And it is going to be in Raleigh, which is, as we all know, a dangerous place to be. Football. Okay. Football wise. Very pleasant town, city, community. Anyway, so Georgia Tech, that's my pick. But I think it's going to, like you said, I think it's going to be real tight. I think it's going to be a good game. Be a lot of fun to watch. Speaking of fun to watch, make sure that you check out Will on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, Blue Sky. We're all there. Will, ACC Nation, and even me to some degree. Once in a while, I'll poke my head out from underneath of whatever rock I'm under at the time and say, hello. So until next time, hey, and be sure that you listen to the basketball preview because, man, that's some good information there with Jason Carmella. I think Will and I absolutely love talking with the dude. He's going to be
Jason's awesome.
Yeah, he is. He's a super guest. So until next time, cheers.
Skol.
ACC Nation, your source for ACC sports coverage with Will and Jim. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on our podcast, streaming radio, and YouTube. Connect with us on Blue Sky, Reddit, Instagram, Threads, Mastodon, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn.